Hello everyone, welcome back to Red Ice Radio. My name is Henrik. We are coming to you from Sweden in Scandinavia. We are here on Thursdays and Sundays doing radio programs and live webcasts from our studio on all and everything that we consider to be interesting and important. If you're new to the program, head on over to our website redicecreations.com and follow along in what we're doing. If you're a regular listener, welcome. Nice to have you with us here today. And we are going to talk about the Order of the Illuminati today. We have Terry Melanson with us. He's behind the website conspiracyarchive.com, a very interesting source of essays, articles, and news updates on all things related to conspiracy, corruption, geopolitics, and secret societies. And Terry has also just finished a new book with the title Perfectabilists, the 18th Century Bavarian Order of the Illuminati. And the book is not yet released, but it is available for pre-orders through Amazon.com right now. And I've wanted to get you on the program for some time now, Terry, so it's great to finally have you with us. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks a lot for having me.
You know, I'd just like to ask you, before we kind of dive into the meat, I guess, of your new book, just a little bit about your website. I've been following it for quite some time now, and I just wanted to ask you, how long have you been doing the site right now, conspiracyarchive.com?
Since 2002, early 2002.
Right.
Before that, I had like a small site on GeoCities since 2000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the articles I wrote way back then, when I got my own domain name, I just put them on the new one here. But I've been going ever since, non-stop since 2000, I guess, just collecting material and on the New World Order and the Illuminati and stuff.
Absolutely, and looks great. It's a great resource, and I mean, there's tons of material up there, you know, for people to check out and dive further into. And I guess you have some columnists as well. I guess Paul and Philip Collins, right? Or two guys you also know. Is that correct?
Yeah, they wrote probably about 50 some articles between them. They're the most prolific I have. Barry Shamish used to write a bunch for my site too, and David Livingston.
Yeah.
Was on the show there a while back.
Yes. Okay, excellent. And how is everything is going good with the website? I guess you updated recently, and with the new blog and so forth, and publishing news that people can follow along in. And it's a great resource for everyone out there to check out, the conspiracyarchive.com. So, you know, why don't we dive into a little bit of some of the content, I guess of your new book here, Perfectabilists, the 18th Century Bavarian Order of the Illuminati. And basically, I guess the best way to begin is from the top or from the beginning. And I'd like to get your take on the Order of the Illuminati. There's so much information out there on this order right now. But give us a little bit of background of what you kind of discovered when it comes to the origins of the Illuminati, Terry.
Well, there's a lot of information, you're right, but most of the information you find on the web, or even in books, like recent books that have mentioned the order, they actually don't go back to the original documents or the original writers who wrote what was going on, like the contemporary writers like Badier and Robinson. So, like around 2004, that big hoopla about the Da Vinci Code was going on, and he was selling like millions and millions of copies. And then once people read his book, they decided to go look for his other books, and they found that there was another book he wrote before that, and that was about the protagonists, or the antagonists, were the Illuminati this time instead of the Priory of Zion. So naturally, when they started typing in Illuminati into the search engines, they came right to my site. So they're asking me, is it true what Dan Brown said about this, and is it true what he said about that and everything? So I started replying to them, but it got overwhelming. So I decided to. I looked at what I already had on my own site, and I noticed that it wasn't exactly what I thought. I needed to research more before I could tell them what the Illuminati was.
Yeah.
Basically, I was telling them what it wasn't, right?
Hmm.
So I bought a bunch of books about Bardiel and went back and looked at Robinson and Billington. So I started researching that and getting back to the original writings of what they actually said to show the people exactly what they were all about. And I posted an article on it. It was about 50 pages, Word doc, and I posted it on my site. And after that, I get offered the book deal.
Okay.
But then if I'm going to write a book, I still got to delve further into it, right? So I went and searched for the actual original writing. I found a copy in French, and I went back to the sources that are considered authoritative. Like a guy in France in 1914, his PhD thesis for history PhD was on the Illuminati, so I got his book too. And basically that was like the main sources, you could say, of what really went on back then.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it just escalated into a 3-year research project, I guess. It took me 3 years to write it.
And what would you say? I mean, we know a little bit about the background story. Those who are in the information flow and are researching some of these topics. The classic outline is that Adam Weishaupt founded the order in 1776 in Bavaria, obviously Ingolstadt, and he had a background as a Jesuit. He was trained, I think, at a Jesuit college, and then started this order. Is there something right there that you would say is not truthful in regards to the sources that you've checked into?
Well, that's basically the beginning of it. Yeah, when he was at the university, he had quarrels with the Jesuits who were already there, and then even before the Jesuits got banned in 1773. So it was back and forth between the professors there that were Jesuits or affiliated with the Jesuits, and they were always basically after him for one reason or another, because he wanted to bring the Enlightenment to Bavaria, which Bavaria at that time was still basically backwards when it came to the rest of Europe, right? So in 1776, he finally had enough. He was having fights with them back and forth, and he instituted the order.
And would you say that that his intentions? What do you think that they were? Do you think that they were from a benevolent background, so to speak, or did he want to do this because he wanted to bring science to the people of that region, or was there something other behind this?
I figure it was because he was adopted by Baron von Eichstätt, right? And this Baron von Eichstätt was the head of the university itself, and he was already a philosopher, and he taught the other Maximilian III, the Bavarian elector before Karl Theodor. He had taught him. He was a tutor for him, and he was teaching all kinds of people in the university, but he was an adherent of the Enlightenment also, and his quarrels with the Jesuits were constant even before Weishaupt was appointed to be professor at the university.
Mm-hmm.
But so he had him on his side, but when he died in 1776, it was just after that that he decided to create the order. It was kind of like a little group within inside the university that could fight against the rest of the Jesuits and the religious absolutists.
And
So that's probably the reason why he did it, like to gather a bunch of people together with the same views. A few of his students were indoctrinated. When he made it on May 1st, 1776, there was 5 that were initiated on that day. And
yeah.
it was him and 4 others. The other 4 were basically his students.
And do you think that he did right? Did he come from a perspective? Do you think that he did this because there were problems with the authority of the day in that in that area? Do you think it was justified to do something like that?
Yeah, for sure. Even the authorities in the day in Bavaria was kind of like a medieval enclave. It was like you had in France the philosophers who already back in the early 1700s, they were writing all kinds of books, and they weren't getting censored really what they're allowed to say unless they wrote books that advised people to go out and kill kings or whatever, right? But and then in England that happened in the late 1600s already, their own enlightenment sort of, and it was only in Bavaria really that the stronghold of the Jesuits were like keeping everybody down. So especially at the university, because they made the university and they were controlling the university. But with his godfather, Ixtad, he was kind of keeping them under wraps and wasn't letting them get too much out of hand. But as Whiteshop's lectures to his students and stuff, he would recommend books like the Enlightenment philosophers, Helvetius, Voltaire, and Rousseau and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so it started off small, really. His intention basically was to gather a group together so he could help combat the religious authorities that were still controlling everything.
Yes, and primarily also, would you say that this, there's so many ideas here about what the true purpose of the Illuminati was. One might be say that it's only to overthrow government. Some might say it's only to overthrow nobility, or the aristocrats. Some say it's only to destroy religion and so forth. But I mean, on one level, all of them might be true. What would you say to that? Is there one agenda here that is more prominent than another?
Well, basically, you got to look at his sources, right? You got to look at the speeches he made to the initiates as they were ascending the ladder. So, if you go back to the original sources, you can get back to the actual what he said to whoever it was at a certain point in time. In this letter, he said this, and this letter, he said that. That's what you got to do when you look back at the history of it. So, his philosophy basically was Rousseauian primitive egalitarianism. Right? He wanted to. He preached to the disciples that we should dispense with kings and nobility and take it all the primitive anarchism. I don't know if you heard about that before.
Well, of course, there is definitely connections there, and the question then is, is this one of the first revolutionaries in that sense? Would you say in regards to